And we're going to get into it right away. Our guest is already in studio. Do allow me to introduce to you right now in studio, Member of Parliament for the People's Progressive Party Civic, Mr. Nigel Dharamlall. Good afternoon, Winner.
Good afternoon, Malcolm, and to me as well, and to our listeners and viewers too. I think we're
live.
We're live as well.
We're live on all platforms as well. Yeah, so right now, man, how you been?
Well, always busy. Been busy for a long time. Hard working like you and trying to spread the word of...
You pull me in there fast, Nigel. Trying to spread the word of the party around.
Certainly. Well, as you're aware, the People's Progressive Party Civic, we are forging ahead with our campaign to retake government hopefully in the next few months. And so our party has embarked on a program to spread across the country to get our messages out and to mobilize our people and to get our organization fully in stead for victory.
You've been doing a lot of outreach. I see you've been posting in the riverine areas and stuff like that for quite some time now.
Well, as a good politician and someone who believes that we're not going to be moving forward unless we touch every single person, every single home in our country, I think it is imperative that we meet with everyone, irrespective of where they are. So naturally, you'll see me and see other leaders of our party across the country meeting with people.
What happened this time? You didn't put your hand up for any nominations?
Listen,
You are a member of the executive?
Yes, I'm a member of the executive of the People's Progressive Party. We already have a presidential candidate, and our party's leadership as well as our membership, we are fully behind our presidential candidate, and ours right now is working towards victory.
Yeah, but you would have seen a little bit of noise being made from your own supporters about the choice, the person who won the ballot as the leader, as the person going forward as the presidential candidate. You fully okay with everything?
Well, listen, there is no way that we're all going to support, whether in or out, any single person. I think every political organization as a living organism, that in itself allows for our party to be criticizing of each other, but we do so internally. And so after that decision was made, everyone is behind our presidential candidate. And the important thing for us is to remove, by elections, of course, the current regime.
Yeah, you use regime loosely. Some other words you're going to talk about as well.
So your dictatorship and stuff.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all of that. I'm not going to ask you where your vote fell in the 24 or the 11.
It fell in the 24. I voted for Irfan Ali. Yes, I did. Why did I? Because it is not because of a choice, but because I feel that our party everyone is a potential candidate. But because of his youthfulness, because of his work that he has done, running huge ministries of the government, and because of his competence, and because also of the results that he was able to generate.
In terms of what?
In terms of his productivity and efficiency as a policymaker and as an implementation officer, an official of the People's Progressive Party civic government.
I've never heard you criticize anything from the PPP.
Well, our party has rules, and like every good organization, criticisms occur within our party. We criticize each other, we criticize views, we criticize opinions, but at the end of the day, we deal with, at the national level, the things that are important. So whatever we do that on a consensus basis, and we proceed with that as part of our implementation of the vision of the People's Progressive Party Civic.
Do you believe that's the best way to go about? Because, let's say, not anything specific, but if something happens that you yourself personally and you know other persons don't agree with, you're not basically allowed to say you don't agree with it out publicly.
That is not true. That is not true.
But you don't.
But because we are a disciplined party, we are an organization. A political party has to be an organization. We've seen very loose outfits take this country to desperate levels. For example, the Alliance for Change. They are not a cohesive unit that has certain values that can drive this country forward. And I think too that the APNU, a Partnership for National Unity, they also do not have core values that can take our country, propel our country forward.
Compared to what?
Compared
the PPP?
Yeah, certainly.
Because if we start some comparisons, we're going to go down a road where
I'd love for us to
you
compare, Malcolm.
Well, when you say they're not competent, what do you mean? In what area specifically?
I can tell. I mean, we've had an experience of over the last 4 years of this government practically. On May 11th, will take us to 4 years of this government, and our country has deteriorated to a large extent. Economically, we have deteriorated. I am one of the politicians and persons in this country who travel practically every single part of this country. Every single part of this country.
When you say deteriorated economically, what are you talking about?
Well, for example, I mean, over the last 4 years almost, the joblessness in our country are at unprecedented levels. In terms of the growth of the private sector, that is also stagnated or is deteriorating. When you speak, last evening I decided to drive up to a stronghold of the coalition. I went to Linden. I went to 3 areas. I went to Watuka, West Watuka specifically. I went to Cinderella City in Amelia's ward, and I went to also in South Amelia's ward. And to meet with people, chatting, getting their views and stuff like that. And 2 people actually came to me and said that, they're small business people. And their problem with this government is that 4 years ago, they were making $50,000, $60,000 per day. Now, when they open their drawers at the end of the day, it is not as much as 5,000.
There may be others who can tell you that they were making more. And if you use Linden as an example, Mr. Dharamlall, it was under your administration, your party's administration, that lots was done to Linden in terms of neglect. There wasn't no drive, no aim. The most famous part of your party's governance for Linden was the protest that cost 3 lives on the bridge.
Malcolm, I think...
For the reason of the raising of electricity tariffs.
I think one of the things that this current government has done pretty well is they've been able to create a ruse around their own misgivings. And one of the ways they've done so is that they have sought to rewrite the history of this country. And we must not be short-sighted, or our memory should not just be in the short term. When we took office in 1992, and spare me a moment for going back so far, when we took office in 1992, this country was in the doldrums. The statistics cannot lie. They have not lied. They are now legendary, globally known statistics in terms of our poverty, in terms of our indebtedness, in terms of our education levels, almost all the sectors of our economy in terms of the productive sectors, agriculture, mining, forestry, those fisheries, they've all been at a dilapidated level. So moving this country forward required quite a lot. Resources, for example. Despite we are naturally endowed country in terms of resources, we also have had challenges in generating financial resources for our country. So when you move a country from massive debt to one that is in just a minimum of 23 years, with all of the problems that we've had, from the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere to a mid-level income country, then something tremendous happened in terms of our policies, in terms of our equitable distribution of the resources of our country.
That is what I'm going to start, because you're still telling me what was done in Linden. If we talk about equitable distribution of resources in the country, Linden was stagnated, Mr. Dharamlall. That's a known fact.
That is not true.
But show me how and what was done for Linden. Because you use Linden as the example,
I use Linden
right?
for an example.
So let's go right there.
And I can tell you, I just told you, I said 2 persons came to me last evening, 2 small business people. They were making $60,000 per day on average 4 years ago, a minimum of 4 years ago when the People's Progressive Party Civic was in government. At this point in time, they're making less than 5,000 or not more than 5,000 per day. Something significantly is different between what we did in terms of managing the economy of our country and what this government is doing. Specifically to Linden, you are aware that the entire education infrastructure of Linden, the health infrastructure, the hospital, for example, The road network was rebuilt by the PPP, not resurfaced, rebuilt. In terms of the bauxite industry, we took the bauxite industry when President Hoyt, under the ARP, had basically sold it out. Jobs were in line. Thousands of jobs.
The government also shut down. The government also shut down without any compensation, Bormine and other places that provided employment for persons as well.
Are you saying so based on fact, or are you saying so because you hear people speaking about this very glibly? Because as far as I'm aware, Araima, it was the PPP that organized Araima. It is Rusal. All those mines are still operating. It is the People's Progressive Party Civic that ensured that the Borbis operations and the Linden operations are still operable and employing people, hundreds of people.
Under what conditions?
The 2 billion electricity subsidy that gives Linden electricity up to this point in time.
People lost their lives for that not to be removed, Mr. Dharamlall. Let's not play politics. People lost their lives.
Is it removed, yes or no?
That is why it wasn't in the way. It was going to be removed and the prices were going to be increased and persons lost their lives. Let's not play trivial games when people lose their life, Mr. Dharamlall.
No, I'm not playing trivial games. I'm saying we started the subsidy.
And the president at the moment from your party didn't even find it fit to visit the people of Linden after they started protesting and blocked the bridge. And then people lost their lives for that, Mr. Dharamlall. Let's not play politics with that one. Anyhow, we didn't bring you here to compare.
No, that's right? Fine. I'd love to compare because I think this government is failing this country. I think the government has done a disservice to the people of Region 10, like they've done to Regions 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1.
Let me ask you something. Mm-hmm. It is known that during the reign, the 20-odd years of the PPP, things were done in specific areas. Certain persons were taken care of more than others.
I don't know what you're speaking of.
An industry that was...
No.
Let me give you an example. I'll give you an example. An industry that was sucking almost the life out of this country was still allowed to just roll along as per normal. The sugar industry.
I don't agree with what you're saying.
Let me lay out what I'm telling you, then you can dispute it.
I don't want you to create the impression.
I'm not creating any impression.
That the sugar industry was a burden on this country because you are speaking
Let me ask
on
you
fact,
something.
or are you speaking based on
to ask all the other taxpayers? There's no propaganda. To ask the other taxpayers to foot the bill for an industry that is dying, wasn't that taken away where something else, where that same money could have been used for personal development for even those same workers, where you could have diversified the industry, when you could have find additional and alternative employment for those same persons? There were billions of dollars every year that was just being pumped into an industry that wasn't giving anything in return outside of providing jobs, understand, for thousands of persons here. But it was the other taxpayers footing their bill.
Malcolm, the sugar industry required a maximum, of between $5 and $6 billion in subsidies per year. That is between 25 and 30 million US per year. Of recent, the sugar industry employed up to 2015, a minimum of 17,000 people across this country, and particularly in the sugar estate areas. 17,000. That is employees alone. The indirect benefits, everywhere those sugar estates are located, had an economy.
Would you keep a business going that is turning no profit for decades?
So my point to you is, sugar is not just about an accounting profit. Sugar is about a national economic benefit. And I think you are being short-sighted and being misled in terms of the impact and the importance of sugar.
No one is talking about the impact and the importance.
Like any
it
other
is seen from a political standpoint. That is what it's seen from.
Now it is seen from a political standpoint.
It has always been from a political standpoint, Mr. Dharamlall. You can't tell me now it's seen from a political standpoint. The PPP closed sugar estates as well. No severance was given to anyone. Are you going to tell me they gave them severance?
Yes, they were paid severance. Those workers from, I think, Diamond were paid severance.
You think? How many estates were closed? They weren't given severance. They were not given severance.
Yes, they were given severance.
No, Mr. Dharamlall, there is no way that pops up of the severance. These estates were they moved to?
Tell me which employee of Gaisuko during the days of the PPP Civic complained about severance. Name me one. Or give me one instance where they complained that they were not paid their severance.
Were they actually allowed to complain?
What do you mean if
Or
they're
was
allowed
the
to complain?
complaints carried anywhere?
It was the PPP Civic that brought freedom of speech and freedom of expression, that brought democracy into our country. So we were able, the reason that you and I can be able now as mature men to speak at this forum and freely express ourselves
This wasn't
has to do with
this wasn't happening
foundation-
under the PPP
the
days, Mr.
foundation of
Dharamlall.
Of course, under the People's Progressive Party. Sugar estates, sugar workers protested more under the PPP than they protested under this government.
Yeah, but then the person who was running the workers' union is a sitting member of parliament. So it was just one thing tied in. How can that person be looking after the interest of a sugar worker when they're tied into the person that is saying, this is what we're giving to you? Did you find that appropriate?
What do you mean?
Mr. Chan being the head of the workers' union and a sitting member of parliament.
We were never at crossroads in terms of the policies of the government and the personal positions of any union. A union leader or leaders in our country.
But do you think that is acceptable?
So what I find unacceptable now is that ministers of government are owning companies that are contracted by the government to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars.
And this has never happened in Guyana's history. Under the PPP, that has never happened.
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of. Would you care? Anyhow.
But it is happening now. You're aware of that, right?
I don't know hundreds of millions of dollars. I know where you're probably getting at is the 800 or something thousand that Video Mega got to do a certain amount of ads, right?
That is one of them. I also sit on the Public Accounts Committee of the Parliament.
Yes, I'm aware.
And we are exposed to very many things that you are not exposed to.
But we are exposed to the on the price value of all the land that was given in Pradoville too. What you talk about that? Let's add that to the equation.
What is it?
On the price for the value of lands.
How do you determine the price of something?
How do you determine the price of something when you have...
Could I ask you, for example, are you undervalued as a radio personality? Yes or no?
Not from my standpoint.
You're well taken care of.
Not from my standpoint.
All right? But
not as much as you are.
You see what I mean? You don't know what I earn.
I know your salary.
But
that's public information,
as a member of Parliament,
that is public information.
As a member of Parliament, I earn $200,000 per month, and you know that 23,740, I think, I've not accepted the increase. So that goes into an account.
And we did some calculation. That account should have over $1 billion now.
Well, I don't have access to the account.
What are you going to do with all the money there?
All right. I don't have access to that.
We attended the same school.
Yeah, we did. I actually was in the first batch at
Yes,
President's
I know.
College.
Of course I know you. I understand. So how was it for you at President's College?
What do you mean, how is it for me?
What was your experience like there? I think I asked you that Barnum gave you education and now you're bashing Barnum. Do you want me to ask you?
No. Barnum didn't give me an education.
He provided the place that you got your beginning from.
The duty of a president and of a government is to ensure that every single child is educated. So it is not Barnum's school, it is not Barnum's education.
It's Barnum's idea.
Irrespective. I don't know, it was Barnum's
idea. If he didn't die that year, you would have been right there when you went in Farm 1, Mr. Dharamlall.
I actually met Mr. Barnum, something that you probably never did.
No.
All right, and many people, including in the leadership of the PNC and those parading themselves now as
and in the PPP too.
as pro-Barnum people, probably have never met Mr. Barnum. I've actually personally met Mr. Barnum. I went to his house.
You PC, some PC children almost want to read you out to the college, you know. You know that.
That is, I think that one of the good things about President's College, and at least the era when I went, we were able to be very independent and expressive of our own selves. And I think that one of the things that you find now with the contemporary President's College students, they've not had the exposure that we have had, so many of them cannot stand on their own. And I, Nigel Dharamlall, I mean, I battle anywhere and everyone.
Hey, if you just joined us, like you just called his name, PPPC Member of Parliament Nigel Dharamlall is in studio. Now, we have to have a segment of this show that deals with you on social media.
Certainly, I mean, that is a platform that we can't, we should not avoid.
You make some comments that people term to be racist or dog whistle, you're whistling, you're calling. How do you view that?
I will ask you one thing, and that is because you asked me the question. Tell me something that I've said on Facebook that is racist.
I'm not gonna
No,
get-
because the reason is, you asked me that question. I do not think that, because racism is about proclaiming my identity, my racial identity, as superior to someone else's.
But
and I've never done so.
Isn't race tied to politics and parties
I-
here in
no,
Guyana?
no,
And it could be used subtly. It could be used subtly by smart people, especially those who get born in education.
So are you saying
People,
that,
you know,
are you saying that Bornham was
thing with
racist
you,
too?
the thing, no, I'm talking about the use of your smarts. That's what I'm talking about,
So
not the
Bornham was-
element. He was a smart guy, yeah, we know that.
So
you
maybe
know
he
that
was
too.
racist too.
No, it has nothing to do with racism. Don't try to tie the two things together. You understand? Because then you're probably tell me that you're not smart.
But I'm kind of taken aback that you can't point to anything that I've said.
I am
that
not.
has been
I am
racist.
not
Because-
saying that you said. If you listen to my question, Mr. Dharamlall, I said persons have said that you have posted racist statements.
For example, like what have I done?
I've seen persons saying that on their comments and always
people also, like I, for example, say that Mr. Granger is a dictator. All right? Some people agree and some don't.
And why would you say
I have
that?
my views for saying
why you say he's a dictator?
Because Mr. Granger does not respect our constitution.
Why would you say that? You just can't pull these words out and just say that.
No.
Why you say that?
But there's a fact. We have a case right now that will be heard where the submissions will be made, have been made, and the hearings will start, I think, on the 8th of May at the Caribbean Court of Justice on the unilateral appointment of the chairman of GCOM. We still feel that it is unconstitutional, that the president has done so by his own rather than with the Constitution. The Constitution is a people's law. It is
The
not
court here has already ruled it was
not the
in
president's,
keeping.
the Constitution. It is not
As it
of
stands,
the president,
fair.
The
As it
Constitution
stands,
is of the
president.
people,
As it stands presently,
right?
it's legal.
We also have this issue of the no confidence vote. The president on the 22nd of December 2018 said he will respect the Constitution, and we
Or the
thought
court's
that,
decision.
hello. On the 22nd, there was no talk about the court. On the evening of the 21st, the Prime Minister and some members of the cabinet went public, had a press conference, and said that they will respect the Constitution. They will respect the ruling of the Parliament. They will respect
The
no confidence-
Constitution, right? Yeah.
Yeah. They also, and the president said expressed similar sentiments the morning after, mere hours after. So, and now we're at a position where
So
this
if
matter
someone
is
finds
appealed.
out that there are points that need
So-
to be
so if-
clarified,
no, hold on.
they're not supposed to get clarification.
hold
The
on.
PPP doesn't waste time to go seek clarification in the courts, you know. So you're telling someone not to do something that you have used effectively for your party.
The PPP has always respected the Constitution of this country. And there is a fundamental difference, right, between the People's Progressive Party Civic and the coalition, or the PNC-led coalition, and that is our respect for the Constitution, our patriotism to this country. and
Mr.
to the people
Dharamlall,
of
we
this
can't
country.
speak about patriotism when we know of all the sweetheart deals that were given to people and all of that. We can't speak of patriotism when certain things are out there. Do you believe when this coalition went into power and they called on Guyanese to give them a chance, saying that look, this corruption is here, look, that is there, look, that is there, and now we see an officer, no, you were charged, and then that was dismissed in the court. You see persons before saying, oh, this was that, and this is not what it's supposed to be. Now you've seen so many COIs, but in many instances, it's just right there. Nothing else is happening. What is your take on that?
Because I think the government, they built their campaign on hypocrisy. They have led people to believe that many of these things had happened or were happening. And they've gotten to a point where hundreds of millions of dollars were spent on commissions of inquiries, and none of them basically proved anything. And that is why you find that they're gathering dust on maybe desks of ministers.
Is this has that emboldened the PPP to get more aggressive in their campaigning, to say, look, you only wasting time, you understand? For the leader of the PPP to say, when we get in power, we're gonna get justice and we're gonna prosecute all those that have done wrong.
So, Malcolm, tell me something. You were a politician at one time. I don't know if you still are a politician. You were a councillor on the city council. The People's Progressive Party Civic does not believe in witch hunting, but we believe in the rule of law and we believe in justice. And if ministers of this government, as has been alleged, And in some cases, we are firm in the belief that there is evidence that they have misappropriated, mismanaged, involved in cronyism, nepotism, in the highest levels of corruption. Then it is our duty to ensure that the law takes its course. However, what is more important for us is that we cannot be burdened by that alone when there's a country to run. And I think that is the problem with this current government.
Do you believe they say, look, we got to govern some of these things? Some things are more important than this at the moment. Could it be that case too?
What is that?
Of just letting certain things be as they are right now?
It is not about being as they are. They made promises and to their supporters or to this country. But when they got into government, they realized that many of the things that they had proclaimed are totally untrue. And that is why they are in this stalemated
Well,
position.
I guess you can actually say that no one could dispute because it's not being challenged anywhere to say, oh, we found this or we found that. So I guess a statement like that will have to be left being fair. You understand? Being fair. If you're not going to charge somebody or say something.
You can always claim a whole lot of things, and then at the end of the day, I mean, I can call you all sorts of names. I've heard all kinds of things about you when you're a city councillor, but I know Malcolm as an upstanding Guyanese. I don't look at the negative things in you. I believe that, as a politician, you want to serve your country. And for me as a politician, it is about serving my country and serving the people of my country. And I give of the best.
Why you call the president a dictator?
I just
specifically.
told you. I just told you.
Outside of that, presently the court has ruled, the appeal court has ruled, it's quite okay what's happening right now in legal in Guyana until a final judgment from the Caribbean Court of Justice.
And the fact that a dictator also makes decisions on their own without consultation of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think...
On what decision you...
The closure of sugar estates, for example. Mm-hmm. Right? 7,000 people have lost their jobs. That is in excess of 35,000 people
they're supposed to...
Directly affected.
Who are they supposed to contact, as you say, consult?
If you are an affected party or you have the potential to be affected, mm-hmm. don't you think it might be prudent and mannerly and decent for your employer to come to you and discuss how we are going to be moving forward?
What, this was never discussed?
This
the
was
state
never
of the sugar industry? No one working
workers,
in the sugar industry didn't know that the sugar industry was being subsidized. They didn't hear that it's possible for plants to be closed. You're telling me they didn't know that?
There was a commission of inquiry mm-hmm. into Gaisuco mm-hmm. that this current coalition government initiated, completed as well. The commission of inquiry, I know this because I've read it. The report did not say that any sugar estates should be closed. Mm-hmm. However, the government took a political decision, I think more vindictive than anything else, because they know supporters of the People's Progressive Party live in those areas. Or the unfortunate thing
you say there's only PPP supporters work at the sugar estate?
I'm just saying, I just said that they know that PPP supporters live in those areas, work in those areas, live and work. I was also going to say that what they didn't cater for is that they have tens of thousands of Guyanese who are also non-PPP people who benefit, whether directly as a source of employment or indirectly as a source of livelihood from the sugar estates within the communities that those estates are located. And of course, in terms of the largest of our country, sugar brings in hundreds of millions of US dollars that contribute to our balance of payments.
Yeah, it brings in but we take up the slack down here.
It contributes
It is
to the
not
stability.
turning a profit, so don't let's say it bring in money because you sell it, you get paid like that. But the cost to produce it doesn't make sense, Mr. Dharamlall.
No, you see, and there I go again.
Okay, was it
there
only for a political strategy that the PPP was keeping it open because lots of the supporters were employed in the sugar estate? Was that political strategy?
No, it was not. For the PPP sugar or any of the productive sectors, has nothing to do with a political strategy. It has to do with the wholesome development of our country. And every time a person loses a job, that should be a problem for our government.
No,
and this government, instead of spending 1.7 billion to get Wales Estate up and running, 1,700 people lost their jobs, whilst the government misappropriated more than $1 billion to build Durban Park.
That is left to be
what benefit? What benefit
But then
What
30
benefit?
billion was borrowed to reopen.
And
You're not putting in that part.
did you read the report that
The bank decided.
Yes,
Mhm,
right.
I read
Because
it, yes.
because the 30 billion that this government practically is misappropriating it and mismanaging it. So why don't you put that part in?
Mr. Dharamlall, you use these words without evidence, and you don't like people to challenge you or tell you things or say
What do you
things
mean,
about you
without evidence? I mean,
without.
I don't want to say steal it or convert it to their own use. I'm saying misappropriated and mismanaged. Which do you prefer?
Well, they didn't mention, not me to prefer, I'm not defending anybody or anything, I'm just asking questions.
I'm only answering
I
questions,
bear
my
no
friend.
party card. I bear absolutely no party card. So,
And I'm going to come to you for your vote.
Nigel, you don't done, you know. You understand? You just you see why people find you to be abrasive sometimes? You say, were you ever abrasive? Want me to give an example of how you're abrasive to me? But that
It is about my independence, and I think that is something we should all cherish. You know,
Are
our abilities
you
to
like
express
this?
ourselves.
Are you like this within your party, or if the leader say, "Hey, Nigel, this it"?
Well, if you're privy to the minutes of
I'm not.
of our meetings, and if you get in touch with some of my colleagues, you will know that Nigel Dharamlall's name is always written down in the minutes because I always have something to say and to contribute.
Does that work against you in the standing in the party?
No, not at all. Our party benefits from
Does that push you
us
forward?
sharing views, and I think that is why we're still as strong as we are, and we're getting stronger.
But your leader said you had some unacceptable comments about the president, and you don't think that you should be like that. You shouldn't get personal.
Yeah, I accepted that I was a little harsh on the president a few years ago.
Harsh, you call it?
Yes, I call it harsh.
You crossed the line. You know that, Nigel.
Isn't harsh crossing the line?
No.
So what is crossing the line?
You could be harsh and still be behind the line. You know how to jump the line and how to cross the line.
I'm a good politician, you know, and I know how to get onto people's.
And then you give what was termed a half-baked apology.
Oh, you term it so?
For it.
Or,
No, I'm not.
did I apologize? You know, it takes a man to apologize, you know.
Yeah, you apologize.
Have you ever apologized?
Yes, I've done that many times. You
So
apologize.
So you have a problem with me apologizing?
No, I don't have a problem with you
Okay,
apologizing.
so what's the problem?
I'm never asked for you to apologize either.
I don't mean, I mean you.
When I see your apology in the same line and then it's not even a full stop, not even a comma, something else following, but only because and all that, then to me that's not sincere. And you know that as well.
I've always been sincere.
So is that the way you put an apology for that?
I don't recall what the apology was.
You want me to read it for you, Mr. Lawrence?
You could if you want, but
It's very easy to find it, you know.
I don't recall what it is.
It's very
Alright?
easy for me
But
to...
I think there are bigger problems that this President Granger, he would have created for our country. And he owes this nation an audience. He is absent in terms of his presence to the people of this country. We have no clear understanding of his vision. We have no clear understanding of...
Should
the
someone
policies.
expect a PPP parliamentarian to have a clear understanding of an opposition MP or president's position?
But is the president of his party or the president of Ghana?
Yeah, but when you say we.
So I, as a citizen of this country, I'm not supposed to have an idea of how the president of the country...
Is it unfair to say it doesn't matter what he said, you'll always see it one way?
No, that is not true.
So then it's fair to say that you'll only paint it one way then?
The problem is we have no idea of what he's saying because he says nothing.
So you think he should have more press conferences?
That, I think, is worse for our country.
More press conferences?
When we find a leader so custodial that the leader is absent from his people.
The guy is sick right now in treatment. You understand?
And we have expressed our...
And you didn't waste time.
No,
confidence came as soon as the guy got sick.
Sorry?
Just around that time when it was announced. A little after.
No, but we filed a no confidence since the 15th of November. So it didn't come just after. And we've always, our party, we are very methodical and in the way we do things. And we don't, like this government, how they wake up and do things without even thinking. We've always thought
is there
things before
anything that the PPP should apologize for?
This has nothing to do with the president. This has to do with the country. The government has mismanaged our country. Corruption is at probably an all-time high in this country.
I would dispute that
Incompetence-
without you providing
incompetence
evidence of
has
that.
been, you know,
I would dispute that
out of
without you providing
the
evidence of that.
mismanagement of the sectors of our country, the productive sectors, for example.
What
I mean,
productive
have
sectors are
become
you talking
legendary
about?
in this country.
What
as a
are you
result.
talking about? You cannot just use
I'm
statements
speaking of-
and
let's
tell
let-
me what you're talking about.
You don't know the productive sectors of Guyana?
No, don't ask me that. Come on, Mr. Dharamlall.
But that is public knowledge.
You-
know
let's
that,
not-
you know that sugar has deteriorated under this government.
Sugar has
and
been
jobs-
dead. Sugar has been
No.
dead for decades now.
That is not
Ever
true.
since preferential
That is-
treatment was
that is not
removed and
true.
money or not, sugar's been
No,
dead.
that is not true, Malcolm.
Billions
Come on.
upon billions of dollars was pumped in the sugar industry in a clear line of sight to show you this was political. You understand?
I just told you. right?
This was political.
I just told you.
Your
I just
support
told
base
you.
is in the sugar belt.
You
Your
have
foundation is
17,000
the...
people who work at Gaisuko. 7,000 have lost their jobs over the last 4 years of this government. And you are telling me that we are not supposed to help people in our country
Who said
and provide?
that? Who said that?
But that is the intent of what you are saying.
I said pumping billions into the
So
sugar
it-
industry
it-
when
it-
it was dead
it is-
could be viewed as a
No.
political strategy and a move.
No, sugar was never
How
there.
can
and
you
sugar
sit
will
and tell me that
sugar will not be
keeping
there.
an industry open
This
that is
government-
a burden on a nation, sucking so much billions over, no businessman. You wouldn't do your business like that in your life, Mr. Dharamlall. How can you tell me that was just okay out of the niceness when this was in your support area? This is where most of your support come from, Mr. Dharamlall. What is it to say that you kept it open? For your supporters, they're Guyanese as well. They deserve
the
jobs
People's-
and all of
the
that.
People's
Everyone.
Progressive Party Civic at the last national elections, we were able to garner over 202,000 votes. Sugar only employed up to May 2015 17,000 people. All of them are not PPP supporters. As a matter of fact, there were 2,299 polling stations in the last national, general and regional elections in 2015. And this coalition government in regions 5, 6, 3, those are sugar producing and agriculturally oriented areas. The votes that this coalition got, when you go do the box by box or the polling station by polling station count, you will see that many sugar workers and rice farmers, for example, on the Essequibo Coast, have voted for the coalition.
How you know that? That's a little bit difficult.
No, it is not difficult because we were able to
How
examine.
can you determine who is what? Is race you looked at it to say this person probably voted? Is that how can you determine that?
Because in the 2011 elections, we compared the results of the 2011 elections. So, for example, in your constituency, I think your constituency 13? 10. In Charleston, is it? Charleston. So in the 2016 elections that you contested, in the local government elections, say, for example, there were 1,000 people voted for you. In 2018, when the elections were held in November, if 800 voted for you and 250 voted for someone else, then where did that 200 go? It went to someone else, isn't that so?
Not necessarily.
So it is very logical.
Not necessarily. It could be 250
I'm-
different persons.
I'm appalled. I'm appalled that as a President's College person,
You would sit there and try to
you're
tell me
supposed to be
this.
logical about this thing.
If someone loses 20 votes, it doesn't mean it goes to the other person. That's not...
The voters list has a number of names, so you will know the numbers that voted on every list. Isn't that so?
Yes.
All right, or you don't understand how voting operates.
Don't try that with me. Continue, Mr. Dharamlall.
All right. So that's what I'm telling you. You can track the numbers over a period of time. And
But
you
that
will
doesn't
know.
tell you
You will
who-
know that I'm not saying. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm not saying that Malcolm voted for the PPP. I mean, I'd love for you to vote for the PPP. I hope you did. And I do look forward to you voting for the PPPs in this coming elections.
Who sent you here to tell me that? No PPP person, no talk, nothing. Just get instructions all the time. Who sent you here to tell me that? Just kidding.
No, it's not about it.
Not because a vote,
the
a number
PPP
changes means
the
that
PPP
the person came over to the other side.
So where did they vote?
They probably didn't vote.
But
That's all.
I just told you, Malcolm. There is a list, right? And the list has a certain number of names. A part of that list usually doesn't vote. A part probably, for all manner of reasons, could not vote. Maybe because they were dead by the time the elections were held. And so the changes, the change in the numbers would naturally move from one party to another party. because you will see the shift in the numbers. I can be more simple in explaining it to you. If I become more simple, I might have to take you to the appeal court, and then we will have to divide the 33 would not end up being a majority.
We know you're math so far in right
so,
at all.
And you notice the coalition government probably didn't do very good at infractions in high school.
It doesn't necessarily mean the same list of persons move over and all of that.
But that is
as
why,
it stands
that is why
as
our
it stands
country is now,
presently,
are laughing stuck in the Caribbean. People are laughing at us because this government does
why
not
you saying,
understand
you
what
see,
the majority
you use
is.
these ambiguous statements. People are laughing at us. Who's laughing? What are laughing? We're talking about. Don't just use these statements, Mr.
They're laughing because the PPP won a vote of no confidence on 33 votes, majority in the parliament, and now this government has put, right? They have put pleadings before the Chief Justice, as they have done at the appeal court, claiming that when you divide 65 members of parliament, you divide them by 2, you end up with 32 and a half, and since they can't have a half member of parliament, you have to round that person up to 1, makes 33, and then add 1. There is nothing more foolish than that I've ever come across.
Well, that's saying the judge is foolish. That's saying the judges are foolish.
I'm not saying so.
Yeah, because the judges, you're saying the judges are foolish.
I'm saying the people who made the plea.
No, the plea was accepted as well. So you're saying the judges are foolish at the appeal court.
I'm saying that those decisions might have been not in the best interests of the Constitution.
Why would you say such?
I just said so.
There's a final court that gets to adjudicate, and when that's it, I guess that's it.
But it is still my view. I think
the PPP has never missed an opportunity to use the court to settle a matter.
For the only matter we have, 2 matters we have before the court right now in terms of the Constitution. We have the 2015 general and regional elections. We filed a petition. That petition has still not yet been heard, whilst everything appears normal in our country. And I wonder why it has not been heard up till now. And we have the unilateral appointment of the chairman of GCO.
Okay, that was ruled in Guyana to be okay, to be legal.
What else?
So why you didn't stop with the appeal court or the high court here in Guyana?
Because we feel that the judgments that have been given so far are flawed.
So when someone believes that they're not afforded the same opportunity like you're afforded,
but we have solid grounds.
Yeah, but they have solid grounds because it's been. Listen,
Malcolm, you went to the School of Excellence.
Listen, yeah, and you need to tell me this. The appeal court has ruled it's legal right now, so it is legal right now. For you to say it's not legal, then you're wrong. Sorry.
The Chief Justice also ruled that it was.
Whose ruling has been overruled? We can't stop at the Chief Justice, Mr. Dharamlall. It is at the Court of Appeal that has made the final ruling thus far. That is where we are. You can't say it's illegal if the court says it's legal, and then you want people to follow what the court say. We got to wait until a final judgment comes from the Caribbean Court of Justice. So presently it's legal.
Let's take this in stages.
And I believe
there was a vote of no confidence, right? There was a vote of no confidence. The Constitution provides, in Article 106.6 of the Constitution, that upon a vote of no confidence, the President and Cabinet shall resign. Article 1, there's a caveat to that. Hold on.
That says you don't resign until the next government is sworn in, right? Okay.
There's a caveat to that. Article 106.7 that allows the President to remain in office. In the explanatory memorandum of that article in the Constitution says that they're only supposed to be in office to ensure the conduct of elections, right? Words to those effect. However, if elections cannot be held during the 3-month stipulated constitutional period, the parliament, 2/3 majority of the parliament
could extend
the life. And the president will demit office upon the assumption of the new president. Right? This government, however, since the 21st of December, the evening after 9:30 p.m., having accepted the no confidence, having accepted the no confidence vote, operated as though they were a normal government. Even after the Chief Justice ruled, they were behaving as though they were, because the Chief Justice also re-emphasized their resignation. But they were still conducting themselves as ministers of government until they decided to call themselves a plenary. So the government for a period of time was illegal, illegitimate, and unconstitutional.
It had 90
The fact
days.
that-
It had
listen,
90 days.
Listen.
It had 90 days, Mr. Dharamlall, in which to conduct as the Constitution says.
I said in a period of time. Then they went to the appeal court, and of course they won. We have since appealed that matter at the Caribbean Court of Justice. We are awaiting a decision, and we will accept that decision as the final decision.
Fair enough. Now, the Constitution also says you cannot vote against your list. And if you do so, you have to do it in writing, like you cease to be a member of the National Assembly. The Constitution also speaks about dual citizenship. And you're not allowed to be in there and all of that.
Right.
So all these things should need clarification, don't you think? It's going to keep popping up if it's not clarified. So why not let it be clarified one time and done?
I think there
And then we all know exactly what is happening.
There was some article attributed to the Attorney General who said that the Constitution may be unconstitutional. So is that what you're saying too?
What are you talking about?
I'm saying that there was an article attributed to the Attorney
Can you
General.
find it for me, please?
I don't want to go online now.
You could go right there. You have a tablet in front of you.
if you want
You
me
could
to
go
go
right
online
there.
now.
Who wrote
All
the
right.
article?
I don't
Citizens
recall.
Report?
I don't. What's wrong with Citizens Report?
Nothing is wrong. I'm asking because I didn't see it.
I don't
You know a
recall
lot
what it is.
about it.
I don't recall. Maybe it could be a news source.
So I'm asking you, if the Constitution says 4 different things about one issue, shouldn't we have clarification?
The Constitution doesn't say 4 different things about one issue.
Oh, yes, it
The
doesn't?
Constitution also said what as the Chief Justice had said, and as the appeal court upheld, that despite a dual citizen voted, that vote still stands.
And the CCJ could
because the
possibly- that could
Constitution
be-
allows it to stand.
That could be changed too. The court could set precedent and say whatever.
Well,
you understand?
I think the government I hope the government would have appealed that matter.
When
I don't know if the government appealed it
Your
because
comrade.
you know that
Is what
the-
is brought before the court is dealt with, right?
Sorry?
What is brought before the court is dealt with. You
Certainly,
can't add in
yes.
stuff arbitrarily.
Right, yeah.
Right? When your comrade was here,
Who's that?
Mr. Nandlal,
Okay.
he did say that he expected maybe they could have gotten a little more ground on a different point outside of the point that the appeal court ruled on. You understand?
I didn't listen to the program.
Yeah, what I'm telling
then,
you. So basically, he said probably a little bit more was there for the dual citizenship or the other part of it, right? The list part of it, but he didn't expect the numbers to be the one that was overruled in that aspect.
Well, I can't comment because I didn't hear I didn't see the program, neither did I hear what transpired on that program. So
You're confident of. If you just
really-
joined us, we have Mr. Nigel Dharamlall, a PPP Member of Parliament, in studio talking to us. You did create a stir in Parliament by refusing to adhere to what the Speaker said, according to reports.
according to
In
reports.
June 2017.
I'm
And then you addressed an empty chair. They said it's the first time that has ever happened in Parliament.
You mean I created history in this country?
Addressing the empty chair of the Speaker who wasn't there for your presentation. You don't know what I'm talking about? When your other colleagues protested right there to ensure that you finish your speech?
Yes, I recall what you're speaking about. So what's the question?
What happened? Why didn't you follow what was asked of you?
What do you mean? What happened? The Parliament is the People's Forum.
And there are rules there as well, Mr. Dharamlall.
And that platform afforded me the opportunity to represent the views of our people.
So if the Speaker
in
gives
Parliament.
you a directive you're
All
not
right.
supposed to
I've always
follow. You didn't in that instance.
I've always adhered to the
You didn't
Speaker's
in that instance.
directives.
That
All
one
right.
there. What was different for that matter? What caused you to
It is not about.
stand your ground?
Sorry?
What caused you to stand your ground?
Sometimes it is important to stand your ground. I think if a leader doesn't stand their ground sometimes, then it shows us a terrible sign of weakness.
In
not being able to ensure that the people that you represent in the parliament, that the fact that they're unable to have their issues debated in the parliament, then I would be weak if I did not ensure that my people are able to get their views expressed in the debates.
Do you believe there is anything that has happened in this country during the PPP's rule that, at least to begin with, there should be an apology?
To be an apology? I have not thought about that the PPP must apologize. But if there are things which people think that the PPP should apologize for, then based on if they desire, then they can raise those issues with the PPP.
Lots happened.
We've asked for many times during the course of
that has not been
of our time in the government, and asked the PNC to apologize for the atrocities that they've committed on this nation, and they have refused to do so.
And so, by that, you believe
no,
the PPP should?
But I don't know what you specifically you are referring to. So, apologize for what? And like I said, if people feel that there are things that we should apologize
I'm asking you, so you think there's nothing the PPP has ever done that there should be an apology for?
For example, Nigel Dharamlall, if I've done something wrong, and I've crossed the line a few times, like you said, I've said harsh things, I've apologized. And I think there is that maturity in the People's Progressive Party Civic to if things have gone against what we stand for.
So you can't think of anything that needs an apology?
No, I've not thought about it like that.
There's nothing. They're open investigations into stuff, but like you said, if they're doing nothing to nobody, then that's just hogwash, as you put it. Yeah,
no, I didn't say hogwash, but I said it was red meat in red meat politics. They basically throw that bone out there, and the government.
But do you believe another government or other persons would have taken that opportunity to use whatever they have and just try to squeeze the opposition party in the courts, in the lockups, in the jail?
Listen, my personal view is that I think if people have genuinely done wrong, then people must be held accountable for wrong things. However, you cannot create and fabricate things about people and then hold them accountable for those things. That is one of the reasons why this government is falling every day, and it's getting worse, because they have built a government on hypocrisy. And that is why they're failing so much, because people have lost trust in them.
That's the thing. You make these ambiguous statements, and when they're asked of you, you just people up. Who and what, for why, where? You got all the information. You stayed on all these committees in Parliament. Give us some insight.
Did
you know that Mr. Charandas Prasad was going to vote the way he did?
I was hoping that the entire government would have voted
by you.
Because silently, when you speak to many of the members of Parliament from the government
side,
side,
you speak silently.
You speak out.
Who are you talking about?
Let's leave that for another.
Let's see. Who knows you, friend? Who you? Let me see. Most likely would be them. Let me ask you this straight up. Yeah. Do you believe there were others who, at that moment when it stopped there, would have put up their hand for the PPP?
I can only speak of the 32 votes that the PPP had. That I was certain that we would have voted.
So on that day, you didn't think it was going to be a 33?
Sorry?
You didn't know for sure it was going to be another person to vote?
I didn't know who it was, but we were hoping that they would have been.
I mean, you knew someone was going to?
No, I said...
You didn't know who it was, but you were hoping.
We were hoping.
You gave me two different statements there.
We were hoping that someone would.
You were hoping?
Yeah.
Do you reach out? Like when this happens, is there a reach out to say, like if you want to pass a bill, you would say, hey man, let me talk about this thing. I would like you. Yeah.
There are discussions in select committees of the Parliament, but under this government, they have not really been functioning. Then there are informal discussions as well.
No, I'm talking about in this specific instance.
In terms of a no confidence.
Like no confidence. Did you personally reach out to? You have called names. Did you personally reach out to have discussions about it with someone from the other side?
To say what? To support?
Let's have a discussion about it.
We discuss amongst parliamentarians all the time, and yeah. If you ask me personally, if I had said, even if the president, I would said.
Get them to vote with you.
Yeah, I'd love for you to vote and support this no confidence motion because your government is failing. Right? And I would have asked him to direct his members of Parliament.
With all this 34, 31 and all these things here, so...
34, 32, man, not 34, 31.
Yeah, 34, 31. 65. You put in an extra member in Parliament?
No,
right?
Isn't that what the government is doing? You've put an extra member in the Parliament?
34, 30, 31. Do you think it was premature to prorogue in 2011?
Sorry?
Do you think it was premature to prorogue the Parliament in 2011?
We believe that we always are of the view that the majority in the Parliament is 33. We've always voted like that. We have always had intentions as parliamentarians that is what it was, whether we were in government or out of government as in opposition. So this issue of 34 is a figment of a few people's imagination.
So basically you always thought it was 33 that would constitute a majority.
And the Constitution in this case speaks of a majority. The Constitution doesn't say whether a majority is 34, or whether it's absolute or silent or smart or, a half or nothing.
Hundreds of Guyanese lost their life during the last reign of the PPP. Well, in power at that time.
And hundreds of thousands have lost their lives too under the PNC.
Many,
including families of mine. So what are you saying?
In our recent past, dear.
So are you now?
I'm not a PNC, so
you're now limiting it to.
It is
what?
not. It is
so what
not.
Period
Mr.
you want to speak
It's not a
about?
PNC parliamentarian sitting there that I'm speaking to. I'm asking you a question.
Yeah. Okay.
You understand? Don't got putting everything, painting everything over there. Hundreds of young people out. Well, Purse Guyanese have lost their lives here in Guyana. No justice broadly over there under the PPP rule, and you told me there's nothing that the PPP has to apologize for. Guyana, we had persons taking out.
Malcolm, let's clarify this.
You said you don't know anything that the PPP should apologize for. That's what you said.
Right.
Right? So you don't think this is an issue that needs to get started somewhere for the loss of lives and all that?
I would love.
What would you love for it?
And when we get back into government, I would love for there to be a commission of inquiry to get over all of these issues.
So why shouldn't it be now?
I think that we've asked this government to do it, and they have not.
Why you didn't do it? It happened under your watch. A sitting minister, not you personally. Sorry, not you
Nigel
personally.
Dharamlall as a member
not you personally, right?
Of this period, and as a leader of the People's Progressive Party Civic.
Yes.
Okay. So let me account for what I'm in control of. I may have been a supporter of the People's Progressive Party Civic during that time that you were speaking of. It is just like you as a member of the public. Why did Malcolm Ferreira not call for these things to happen? That also is a duty that you as a citizen could have expressed, but you didn't do it.
Me personally?
Yes, you personally.
Yes, I've called for many things already in this country.
But I'm speaking about just that.
I've called for this and...
You understand?
Let me tell you, Mr. Dharamlall.
Our party
me
is
talking
very
this
clear
here.
about
I was raised in Alboystown. I see these things happen.
I spent 2 years in Pontrench.
Good. See these things happen. So me talking from a ward, a motor who tell me or anything.
So you see crimes committed?
Yeah, of course.
And you didn't report it to the police?
Of course.
And nothing happened?
I don't know how far they took it.
So you should have gone to give evidence in court?
If it's called for that, yes.
I mean, all crimes are supposed to be reported to the police. So, and so I hope that when the Commission of Inquiries are established in the future to deal with these things, that you will be one of those persons who
see somebody snatch a bag and see somebody snatch a phone. No, it's far different from the hundreds that were murdered. Don't try for what? I find you trying to water down this thing where people lose their life, since earlier. You understand?
You just said that you have seen crimes committed.
Yes, I have.
And I'm telling you that when the commission of, and I would like to see a commission of inquiry done. When that time happens, I would like you to go and give evidence.
Did I tell you I see crimes committed of the 400 plus that have been murdered?
That is what we were speaking about.
You understand? You say you're from Alboystown, we were all from around there.
No, I didn't say I'm from there.
I seen a purse being snatched or a phone being snatched?
Now you're qualifying when I said I would like for you to be...
Earlier said that too. Look, the question is, 400 plus people got murdered under the PPP reign in Guyana. Do you believe at least an apology should start?
I think a commission of inquiry should be established and let us deal with the facts of all those murders.
A sitting minister was murdered under the same government. Nothing was done. Nothing was done then. You just said when you get back into power, you'd like to do that. That is just talks. In some instance, some would say it happened under you. You had a chance to look into it. But now you're going to say when you get back there, you look at it.
They've had police investigations, as I may have read, like you would have read, into these things, and the perpetrators were identified, and some have been prosecuted, whilst others may not have been prosecuted. I don't know.
In many instances, the perpetrators were untouchable, Mr. Dharamlall.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm telling you. I'm not asking
I don't know. I don't have those details.
In Guyana, there were even advertisements taken out in the newspapers of the collaboration with who paid for this and who paid for that and who was fighting crime outside of the crime-fighting measures. A former Home Affairs minister spoke of the instances and said he would do it again if he, God rest his soul, if he had the chance to do it again. Those are things that we are almost out of time. Those are things this country faced.
What I know for sure too, as you refer to those advertisements, one of those advertisements said they were in support of a current coalition, an APNU minister, they were in support of the work that they were doing.
Well, you see,
No, wait a minute. What do you mean, well, you see?
well, allow me to say what I got to say now. You understand?
Yeah, right, boss.
You just jump up with these things without the evidence as
No,
well.
but you didn't see that in the
This is not
in the ad.
parliament, you know.
No, but that was in the ad. You didn't see it. You just spoke about the ad. You didn't see that part in the ad.
Yeah, well,
Good,
well,
right? Yeah, well, say yes.
that doesn't discount anything.
No, I know that. I know
I'm
that.
not guarding or shielding anybody. You know, this thing is across the board. Is whoever involved should be brought to justice.
Listen, I agree
You
with
understand?
that. I totally agree with that.
But to tell me that this is it and this is it, you had a chance. It happened under you, and you say there's nothing that the PPP has ever done that you feel there's a
No,
need.
I did not say that again. You see,
That you feel there is a need for any apology.
I said I am not aware.
Good. So you don't feel there is anything that
No,
they have done.
don't. I actually got a grade 1 in English when we did CXC, and when I did CXC, you know, there were 21 students at President's College in my year that year that got grade 1s in English. I was one of them. So I understand English very well.
And what grade do you think I got in English?
I think I
What
speak
grade do you
very
think
well.
I got in English?
All right, and I learned English long before you.
Yeah, well, you never know. I could probably be speaking before you too. You never know. You understand? So I'm saying, you said there is nothing that the PPP has done that you can think of that needs an apology. That's what you said.
I said I'm not aware of.
That means...
No, that doesn't mean that I don't. I
You
think
said
that
you're
we
not
should
aware of anything?
apologize. I said if there are things that we have done that require an apology, then we will have to do so.
But you don't know any.
At this point in time, I
You
have
don't...
not.
The PPP has never done anything that deserves an apology. That's what you
I
said.
am saying at this point in time, I'm not aware.
I said an apology to start with.
If you give me an instance, and if I think so, then I will say so. Give me an instance, for example.
I'm not here to defend anybody.
Well, then
to say,
you see, we can't speak.
let's talk about all the youths that were murdered, all the people that were murdered under the PPP, and the minister talking in that way.
If the government was culpable in those, then I think yes.
They should apologize.
Yes.
I hear you.
I understand.
But now you don't feel they should.
Well, there is no investigation, a commission of inquiry to say the government was
Do
culpable.
you support a commission of?
Yes, I support.
What else do you think we should really check into our country to really move our country forward?
Well, the biggest issue for our country is jobs. I read an article attributed to the Director of Youth a few days ago saying that 40% of the young people in Guyana are jobless. So naturally, that should be an important premise from which we should start, creating opportunities for jobs for people, whether young or old. Everyone needs an opportunity to get a job. And I feel that with the plan of the People's Progressive Party Civic, when we get into government over the next 5 years, and we have also been, during the course of our days in the opposition, promulgate many of these things in terms of our reviews, which we feel that the government should take on board to enhance the employment of people in our country. Many of things they have not taken on board. We would have liked to see certain policies which they had pursued reversed. For example, the many hardship measures that they have implemented, the taxation burden that people face on a daily basis. Those are things that we feel if they're dealt with.
VAT should be reduced more?
If VAT, you see, the government reduced VAT from 16 to 14, but then they put it on a wider gamut of things. And that has created a lot of hardships. If you speak to the miners, for example, many of them are crippled because now everything is spares, their equipment, they're all attracted.
When VAT came, I remember.
But those things didn't have VAT in
specifically.
In the Party.
Yeah, I remember specifically speaking to Mr. Sattar in an interview, and one of the things that I spoke about was the lack of price control, right? And every time you pass
in
the product,
in a modern country, right? In a modern country, price controls are done away with.
No, not
we done away.
Listen,
the People's
not
Progressive
advocating for price control, but saying without.
Because that's going to take us back very many years.
No. It wasn't advocating for price control, but saying without something could up the price. And when VAT came in, it brought hardship because it was taxing people in many things that they weren't accustomed to.
My school of thought.
And I remember
is that
specifically.
I believe in competition. I genuinely believe in competition. And I feel that as a government, we should also facilitate competition. But whilst we're facilitating competition, we should not be creating hardships for people. And the unfortunate thing that we have now in our country is that the entire economy is just based on taxes And that is why you're not seeing the massive growth that many would expect in investment in our country.
When was the economy based on, when last was the economy based on anything much more than taxes? Just before VAT came into being, because VAT was projected to bring in a certain amount, and it doubled and tripled quickly. And it keeps going up.
VAT brought in up to the end of 2014, I think around quote-unquote $21 billion in VAT revenue. When this government took office, they reduced it from 16 to 14%, but then they put it on a wide number of things, including 40-something food items that were previously zero-rated.
And some were zero-rated by them as well.
And
that had VAT under the P.
Not
right?
zero-rated. They put it on the exempt list, and there is a fundamental difference that you should call GRA and find out about.
Some were zero-rated as well. Some were zero-rated. Some were zero-rated.
On the exempt list,
and some were placed on the exempt list.
The exempt list, you cannot reclaim the input VAT.
Good.
So
it's like one time only,
so the
right?
VAT burden now has increased by, I think the figures were about 20%. The VAT collections, the VAT burden has increased by.
Okay, fair enough.
In terms of the revenue.
Fair enough. Couldn't that be as a result of them getting more people to pay their taxes?
No, not at all.
Get more coming back into the country's coffers than were scattered out and not coming back in?
We're speaking about VAT here.
That could be.
VAT is specific. Okay, VAT is specific. It is attracted on an item, and then it is charged to GRA. It's paid to GRA. So it moved from about 21 billion at the end of 2014 to in excess of 26 billion by the end of 2016.
Couldn't that be that persons are consuming more?
No,
hold on. Let me finish now. Couldn't that be that persons are consuming more and the economy is moving? That's why you get to collect more business being done, more VAT? More products being sold, Mr. Dharamlall?
No, it is because those items did not receive VAT before. That they are now not receive, but they did not attract VAT before. Now they've attracted a 20%.
So it's only because of those items cause this money to go up? I can't conform to such a... You went President's College?
Yes.
It doesn't sound so.
And I went...
No, it doesn't. When Bornham was fully in effect. This is when you went.
No,
it doesn't sound so.
Bornham died in
it doesn't sound so. And you went in September, right? A month before. Yeah, but that was full Bornham thing. That was full Bornham thing then. Don't give me that.
Bornham really mismanaged the country.
So you're actually you didn't go to President's College. You went to Dunn School then. If you can't understand what I'm saying, if you're trying to tie that into me, you did the same thing to me earlier. So take it back right now. You understand?
But Malcolm, I mean, it's a pity that you don't understand how that works.
Who you mean you don't know? It's a pity you can't get that lie over to me and me accept it.
No,
you cannot tell me the increase in VAT is only due to some items VAT being placed on when others have already been zero rated and on the exempt list. Don't bring that to me, Mr. It could also mean that more business was done, more money was available for persons to spend, so they spent more, so more VAT has come around. It could also mean that more VAT is being given to GRE. It is not being ducked under the table like when you go and buy at certain stores, they say you want bill or you don't want bill. Lots of that was happening. It could be a control measure as well. Wouldn't you agree?
No, I don't agree with that.
So you just think it's because they put VAT on equipment for rice farmers, they bring the extra money up and create burden over there.
I didn't
Your reasoning is skewed, Mr.
You were speaking very glibly about things you don't understand.
No, he's saying, how can you specifically say that they got VAT for certain things? Like, how do you know that VAT only...
No, Amy, no need to. Amy, relax. I just explained that to you.
I'm happy that you understand that Malcolm doesn't understand what he's talking about.
No.
He understands what he's talking about. I think you're not understanding what he's trying to say.
Good.
He wants to know, how can you prove that the VAT went up because these things were VAT and not that more things are being bought that were already had a VAT attached to it?
More taxes being paid to the GRE.
For the VAT. Like if people didn't pay VAT before, they started to pay VAT now. How can you be sure what he's saying is that this VAT...
No, Amy, if you have to explain that to Nigel, he didn't go to President's College because I said the exact same words. He doesn't like to agree when he know he can't get out. So
no, but
hold on. Why am I... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but
we gotta wrap up now. Though.
That is not true what you're saying, Malcolm. You should check the back of the estimates, and you'll see how VAT is collected. I don't want to go into all the full details of all of it, but the figures are all there. and it is always shared.
And
in
until, fair enough, and until we can see to say that what you're saying is right, then I'll take your comment with a pinch of salt, Mr. Dharamlall.
No, you shouldn't, because VAT is it put on items that never attracted it before, contributed significantly to the hardships that many are facing in this country.
It contributed to the overall collection that could then be used for services for people in the country.
Like what?
For all the general services that people need.
Which services have
Any
improved?
service that persons
But services
need.
in our country have not improved.
People got to be paid and all of that.
People have always been paid, haven't they? But we've had issues of circulars.
And one guy said he paid them for the PPP government too.
No, I didn't. I didn't hear it.
Yeah, younger said it though. He used to pay the teachers and the nurses. He said that.
Who's that?
Who's that? Huh?
Yeah, who's that?
Oh, you don't know what I'm
No, I
talking?
don't
In the
know
same
what-
advertisement, it was right
No,
there.
I
The
don't-
same
I
advertisement.
don't recall.
You don't recall?
Paid teachers?
You
No,
don't
that's not
recall?
true.
You don't recall the advertisements. Maybe you may say it's not true.
That is the problem with how this government operates. They operate based on conjecture, and they don't see things through and make logical deductions out of in terms of how they must manage things. So they glibly hear about things and they make conclusions.
In every aspect, you think?
More than many.
And for your party,
and I think
your
that
party
that is,
never does that.
I think that is one of the failures of this government. That they make decisions without sound base.
Is there anything this government has done good?
Sorry?
Is there anything this government has done good?
Well,
finally.
the fact that the government, my big issue with this government has to do with the levels of joblessness that they have created in this country. That is a major issue for me. And until the government can ensure that people who have lost their jobs because of their policies, then I would not be able to give the government pass mark.
Some would say it's the policy of the previous government that took us into this position that they had to make a decision.
That is always the excuse. The fact that the government lost the vote of no confidence, the fact that one of their own parliamentarians voted against them, is good reason to show that this government has failed.
And listen, that was when the old body come back home, some say.
Sorry?
That was when the old guy returned home.
I don't understand.
You sent him out and he came back
No,
in.
man. You and I are close in age in terms of that person. I didn't know that guy
Thanks, Nigel. We got to get a gap where we could talk about who you, how you grew up and thing, what was your aspiration.
I thought you were going to ask me all of those things.
Since you start the comparison early,
you know what I
you
mean?
won't give me a chance to take it how you want.
You
We got to come again before we talk about that, you know what I mean? Because most times you see persons like it's a comeback, like you're fighting all the time.
I agree with
but I'm certain that you have friends from that are in government, in parliament with you.
Certainly, and I think we hold mutual respect for each other.
But sometimes that is not
but we
showed out
disagree
there.
on things.
But that's not showed out there at all.
We disagree on things. Well, maybe that is something that we need to work on.
It shows that like it's one big fight. And you know that trickles down to people as
I
well.
agree with that, and it's something that we need to probably work towards.
And I believe you could play a big part in it, you know what I mean?
Certainly.
Yeah, he agree with me. First time,
First time
man.
we agree.
First time, yeah, I get one agreement out of this.
Remember, he was a little boy in my school, you know, so you guys show some respect.
Yeah, I'm on top. Yeah, stop it right here. You're on top right now. Hey, thanks for passing through. Now the best.
And
the
I'm
best
happy
going
that,
forward.
you know, for all the people who have been following us today, I also would like to give them a hail up. And
then this
and
is
we
nothing.
do look forward to the support, to your support to the People's Progressive Party Civic, and I do look forward to you joining with us as we win the next elections.
Okay, then you're talking to the listeners.
The numbers are in our favor, so come on board. Yes.
Like how you use that, we haven't had a check to see you saying numbers in. Hey, Nigel, you've been grilled in school at Freedom House quite a lot. One guy says, you know, this Nigel guy is a fool. I say, you'd be foolish to think that he's a fool. When you get more on education, you could twist the language anyhow you want. And that's, I believe that's why them and you got it out, you know.
You know, one of the funny things about what happens is that the platform allows people to express themselves anyway, right? But until they get to understand who the person is and to get to know the person, then they realize that Nigel may have contributed in a significant way to many of their upliftment.
I hear you. Ambiguous again. You know? Hey,
Right.
thanks, Mr. Dharamlall.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, no problem. Feel free to come back. We gotta continue this conversation. You know, we need to know more about you personally, not necessarily politics only. About you.
You will know much more about me as we move forward. We're going to win, so you will know much more about me.
I hear you, boss. I hear you. That was People's Progressive Party Civic Member of Parliament, Mr. Nigel Dharamlall, speaking with us today. It's just about time for us to wrap up.